I feel like a car that's over 20 years old, stock, should not. All right, ladies and gents, 2001 BMW M3. This is the E46 generation. Super excited to finally drive this because, as you guys may know, I'm very much considering replacing with a GR86 with an S2000, but my buddy Fenton's son from the Zygreen YouTube channel, he is actually suggesting that I may want to consider an E46 M3. Now, when I was a kid, these cars were super, super hot. This came out right when I was around 10 years old. And I mean, you gotta love the styling, you know, the fender garnish with the functional vent. Classic, classic BMW. This is very much the 90s and the early 2000s. And the owner has actually mostly kept this stock. He got it around 25,000 miles, now has around 40,000 miles. And the only real modification he did is with regards to the shifter. Ooh, she comes to life. Gotta keep the windows open for at least part of the drive. Hope the audio's fine. Because what a surprise, BMW AC not working. Where have I seen that before? But the only mod he's done is this Auto Solutions 25% autocross short shifter. It's 20% shorter throws, and he has this F10 BMW M5 shift knob I mean. And overall, this is a very timeless and classic interior because you don't have the screen. The big screen is what dates things, but when you have very simple displays, you know, nice, thick, chunky steering wheel, which if you have large hands, this feels fantastic in your hands. If you have smaller hands, it might be a little bit too much. It is such a great place to be. I've always enjoyed BMW interiors. We're powered by the S54 engine. That's a 3.2 liter inline-six, making 333 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque. And the car weighs 3,450 pounds. This shifter is super notchy. Everything is so tight and it just clicks into place. Every little discrete movement going from third to neutral to fourth is very distinct. And I actually like that a lot. I think it might be too notchy for some people, but I think when you have a shifter that is this precise and mechanical, it actually allows you to shift it with more confidence and faster too. You know, getting out of some of those earlier model M3s and the 2002, this properly feels like a modern car. I mean, this is 20 plus years ago. But now you're very much in the modern era of vehicles, the way that they drive, the NVH, the handling, things like that. The turn-in is so sharp, steering so precise. Hydraulic assisted power steering. A lot of people say the E36, the generation right before this, had the best steering of any BMW. We're gonna put that to the test. We're driving that shortly. In fact, we have a whole comparison, a whole playlist comparing all the generations of M3. We're testing them all today, but in each distinct, separate videos. But the steering, as you guys know, I talk about 4 elements when it comes to steering. The precision here is tremendously high, super sharp, great turn-in. The weighting, I would say, is like medium. It's not too heavy, it's not too light. And the speed is just right. I like a faster steering ratio because it allows you to change the direction of the car, obviously, quicker. Not as much feedback in the steering, obviously not as numb as the current generations, but this is when BMW starts muting out the steering a little bit. And some people like that, right? Less NVH. Oh my god. Dude, this car is so... I didn't realize that stock, these things are so dialed in already. I mean, everything from the throttle response being super natural. There's no real learning curve to heel towing this or rev matching. The engine's silky smooth, this inline-six. the throttle response is exactly what you expect. So these downshifts are just silky, buttery. Even the brakes, like not too grabby at the beginning, and then nice and gradual and progressive. I'm starting to understand why the E46 is such a loved generation of M3. We're getting a lot of the texture of the road, but it's actually well damped. It's not punishing, it's communicative, without being overly harsh. I think it's starting to actually push that weight limit, because once you start getting, you know, 3450, it's no lightweight, but it's also not the 4,000 pound M3s of modern day. When you get heavier and heavier, you need to get stiffer and stiffer suspension to control things like body motion, right? And this is just towing that line where it can still actually be not too harsh while still maintaining composure as you get on the brakes, as you take corners. And this thing being mostly stock is actually the most impressive part to me, because I feel like a car that's over 20 years old, stock, should not drive this well. No AC, getting kind of toasty in here. Woohoo! Rev her out to 8,000 RPM. Now, BMW M3s are oftentimes criticized because they're not dedicated sports cars. You're taking a chassis that's a more pedestrian vehicle, right? The 3 Series base, and then building on top of that to make something that is sporty and fun and sharp. But this car doesn't feel compromised. I mean, you have these rear seats that, granted, they're barely usable, but this is just, for a stock vehicle, I still can't believe how well dialed in this is. And I love this shifter. Just allowing you to go through the gears so easily and with such precision. Double clutching, a cinch, the throttle response immediate. And that turn-in, though, this is the kind of car that actually adds confidence because it is communicative. It does behave predictably. It has a very, I think it's just about 50-50 in terms of weight distribution, which, as we discussed in this video up here, is actually, it has its pros and cons. It's not the perfect, you know, as people say, it's symmetric, but it helps it feel much more predictable. That's why you see a lot of E46s become drift cars too. And I love how you can shift this thing fast, it doesn't complain. I'm just finding excuses to use this transmission because this is just so great. Such a joy to use. So much grip. I can't even approach the limits here. The thing I love about this car too is that it's kind of dual personality in the sense that you can cruise around town nice and slow, and it's refined, it's comfortable. It is, you know, for a daily driver, it is stiffer, it is sportier, right? But you can definitely commute in comfort with this car, assuming the AC works. Hashtag BMW problems. But then when you open it up, it comes alive, and it actually eggs you on, because you just want to hit that 8,000 RPM red line as it builds to that crescendo. And the chassis just being so communicative, so tight, so well dialed in, all the inputs too. It allows you to focus on the driving at hand, rather than trying to work around a car's quirks. And there's pros and cons to that, right? Some of those cars that have those quirks, that's part of their charm, their joy. It actually takes a lot of focus, and you can feel fulfilled and excited at a lower speed. But this car really wants you to drive it hard. And as those inputs fall into the background, you can then focus on driving, on what the car is doing, on the road ahead. Oh my God, what a car. So as Fenton suggested, yeah, I mean, maybe I should be considering this as my replacement for my GR86. This is a properly fun car. This is a proper FR vehicle. Me and the boys, we were talking about some of the, you know, the top 5 FR vehicles of all time. And one of the guys says, yeah, E46. S2000 also up there, but E46 definitely in the top 5 FR drivers cars of all time. Hello, E36. We'll be driving one of those, actually, and comparing it to this car. Check the link in the description, or go to the actual BMW M3 playlist we have. You'll find it there, and all the other M3s as well. Now, after driving it for a few minutes, I feel like the steering, it needs more feedback. That's actually, that would round this car out really well. The steering is great in every other way, but the feedback is diminished, and considering that it's a hydraulic rack, it could definitely be better. I'm really so impressed by this vehicle. I mean, the interior, again, classic and timeless because you don't have a screen. Even like the clutch engagement, you have the feel, proper placement. There's no confusion there. The pedal placement, heel toe, no problem. This car is dialed, guys. This car is dialed straight from the factory. I'm wondering what a stock manual transmission would feel like without the short shift kit, because I do like the short shift kit quite a bit. But I also can tell that some people would find it too notchy, and maybe the stock one is more congruent with the rest of the vehicle, because this is very tight. Oop, actually got stuck between the gates there. You can even hear the mechanical noises, right, as I'm shifting between these gears. So they haven't really dialed out all the NVH. They've made it comfortable enough, but you still feel like you're driving a sports car that's special, right? I'm definitely going to be driving more E46s in the future, because this car I'm enamored, and I do want to actually test it and push the limits at lower speeds so I can really see how it behaves dynamically. But first impressions, really impressive car. I mean, this car is held in high esteem for good reasons. Anyway, my friends, let me know what you think of the E46 M3. Much love, and I'll see you all in that next one.